Jefferson Health offers no-cost COVID-19 testing sites at St. Raymond of Pinafort Church. Testing is on Thursdays and Saturdays. A second testing location has been added at Richard Allen Preparatory Charter School. Testing is on Wednesdays and Fridays. For testing hours and more information, visit jeffersonhealth.org/community testing. Now's your chance to watch the best new play of the season at home. Philadelphia's Wilma Theater is now streaming the thrilling drama Heroes of the Fourth Turning until December 13th. Four friends reuniting at their Catholic college in Wyoming as they wait for the arrival of their mentor. Secret passions and fears surface, revealing their troubled place in a divided country. The New York Times raves that Heroes of the Fourth Turning is astonishing. To stream the Wilma Theater's production of Heroes of the Fourth Turning tonight, visit wilmatheater.org.
This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Independent Black Media. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on Word Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Chris Murray Report on WURD Radio 900 AM, 96.1 FM. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a lot to talk about this week. Tonight, Danny Garcia fights Errol Spence for the welterweight championship down at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio tonight. And that'll be on pay-per-view. If you got the bucks, I forgot how much it costs to pay for it. Or if you have other means of watching the fight, then you can do that as well. But Danny Garcia, this is his big chance to prove to the world that he is amongst the best of a crowded and really talented welterweight division. But before I get into any of the specifics of the show today, I want to pay tribute to a good buddy who recently passed away this week, WURD's Joey Temple. Joey was a huge supporter of our show and just a great guy to talk to. You know, he always gave me sort of the Philadelphia history and, of sports and, the street history, and just a great guy. And I miss him. When I heard the news, I admit that my eyes were not dry when I heard the news because he was just a good guy. I think he always saw him on the Facebook account, always supporting the show and wishing us love and blessings, and especially in the last couple of weeks or so. So it is with somber hearts that we say goodbye to Joey. But I'm gonna do this show today in memory of him because, like I said, again, he's a good guy, and like I say, we've lost a lot of good guys this year. I mean, it's Christmas time, and I would be preparing for Earl Harvey's thing, and now Earl's gone. So it's a lot. It's a lot to carry this year. So I just wanted to, just to say that before we start the show, to keep in mind. I want everybody to stay safe. If you got to go out, wear a mask. Be safe. Be there for your loved ones. Do all the social distancing. If you go out to a restaurant or something, make sure you have your mask and you're in a secure area or someplace where you're not around a lot of people. So, and take care of your family members as well. Okay, but I want to start today talking about, first of all, the Philadelphia Eagles are awful. Jordan, you saw the game Monday night. Oh, God. I mean,
I couldn't even watch anymore, actually. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, it was really bad. The whole Thanksgiving week was just bad football for me. Just watching bad football all weekend. Right. Then on Tuesday, I think Wednesday, the Ravens played the Steelers, and I'm learning that the NFL coaches, between Doug Peterson, John Harbaugh, and a lot of coaches around football, not just those guys, but there's a part where coaches overthink the game. Sometimes you have to punt on fourth down. Sometimes you have to kick the field goal. okay, late in the first half. You kick the field goal. You stay in the game.
Yep.
And you do things, and then, they have no continuity. The offensive line is a shambles. They moved Jason Peters to the guard spot, and Jordan Mailata really didn't do a good job. The whole line didn't do a good job of protecting Carson Wentz. And, of course, Carson Wentz complicated that by missing open receivers.
Yep.
And so, and running. I mean, he ran a little bit, but he was running for his life mostly. And, a lot of people then, I wrote a column this week in the Sunday Sun saying that, at some point they're going to have to consider Jalen Hurts. Then after I filed that story, then I kept reading more and more things that are saying that somehow Doug Peterson now is coming out that he wasn't on board with bringing in Jalen Hurts, and that directive came from the ownership, and which is oftentimes not good. And so Peterson seems to be between a rock and a hard place. Mm-hmm. I don't think they really want, it's giving me the impression that they really don't want to develop Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, because I think he has the athleticism, and I think he has the ability. This is a smart guy. Mm-hmm. This is a smart guy because he was at Alabama, he was at Oklahoma, and he had to learn two different systems on the fly. I mean, he had gotten beat out by Tua Tagovailoa. He took it like a man, matured, he worked on his craft, became a better passer. Because I remember as a raw freshman, he couldn't pass to save his life. And although he did throw about, I think, 15 or 16 touchdown passes, but he was still kind of raw. And, from that point, I thought it was a good. I mean, I thought the Eagles needed more. I thought they would have gotten a better receiver. I thought they should have drafted Justin Jefferson, who's getting Rookie of the Year consideration, which I'll get into that momentarily. But the problem is, Jordan, is that I look at it like, they brought this guy here, and of course it didn't do well for Carson's psyche. I mean, Carson may say all the right things. Oh, I like working with him and all that. But the thing is that you can't, you put in enough. You have enough, Carson's, in Carson's defense, a lot of people don't want me to defend Carson. In his defense, he's dealing with the psychological impact of Foles winning that Super Bowl while he was hurt. He's trying to do everything. He wants to be in a situation where he can win. And, the thing is, you got all these offensive coordinators, all these people with voices in his ear. His receivers have been hurt. He hasn't really established any continuity with anyone. The offensive line is messed up. Peterson refuses to run the football or do much with Miles Sanders, which I think is scandalous, in my opinion. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, Jordan, what do you think? I mean, Jordan, am I shooting at the dark here? I mean, what do you think of all this?
No, you are speaking facts. And honestly, I was just saying, if he's not willing to give up his play calling duties, then he's got to go. Because it's week after week, it's the same thing. It's basically like Chip Kelly when you think about it back in the day, really extremely predictable with the play calling and everything. So it's I'm not with it. I'm not with it.
I'm not with it at all. And the thing is, we can blame. I mean, I even said that, because in a real sense, Carson, you're messing up, brother.
Right.
And I'm trying not to, I'm trying to look at this as objectively as I can. Mm-hmm. And although I do remember, but there is a part of me, and I know a lot of people, and I'm going to bring, and by the way, one of my guests today is going to be Lloyd Vance, who's written books on on black quarterbacks. I think he helped do the documentary with Bill Rhoden for ESPN on the history of the black quarterbacks. And I'm going to talk to Lloyd about this because I think Lloyd can give us some insight to what's going on. He'll come in at about the bottom of the hour, and whatnot. And by about 11:30ish, he'll be good. He'll be in at that time. But the thing is, I would talk to him about Carson Wentz. What's his problem? And then the whole Jalen Hurts thing, because basically if you read people like Marcus Hayes and the Daily News Inquirer, realize the people out there, all the noise in the Philadelphia media, there seems to be a thing where the team is not necessarily interested in developing Jalen Hurts, and people are trying to judge Hurts based on a few plays in the Wildcat, and you can't judge a quarterback based on that. I mean, you got to give him reps, you got to give him the time to get in there and play, but there's pressure from the front office, and that's not good. That is not good to have that going on here. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to participate in any aspect of the conversation, even when we have guests on, and we would like for you to ask questions of our guests, numbers to call are 215-634-8065, 1-866-361-0900. So if you're calling from outside the area. So from that perspective, I want you guys to weigh in on this today. And we're also going to be talking about the fight later on. I'm going to see if I can find Joe Sanlaquido. For some reason, I didn't get a chance to get to him last night, but I'll talk. But I can also, I'll talk about that. And I got a brief sound bite that I'm going to play at some point, not now, from Danny Garcia, an interview he did with Max Kellerman on Max Kellerman's boxing show. And Max Kellerman is one of my favorite, people in boxing, because I know he God knows his stuff. And I'll probably bring him on here one day to talk about what's going on in boxing. But but the Coach Carson Wentz thing, I mean, a lot, and then of course a lot of fans will say, well, if that was McNabb, and they are right, So I want to get everybody, and plus the fact, Denise and I argued about this week. Always got to tell you, Denise and I talk about sports all the time. As a matter of fact, Michigan State plays Ohio State tonight. She went to Ohio State before she transferred to Temple. I went to Michigan State in grad school, and that's the annual. She gets mad if I gloat if Michigan State beats Ohio State, although that's not happening today because Ohio State's bad. But that's the thing. But I got to bring in other voices in here. Joe from Germantown. Joe, what's happening, brother? What do you think of all this, man? Sorry, and sorry about we talked about your Cowboys last week. I'm sorry. Go on.
What they think. Before I talk about any sports, let me give my heartfelt condolences to all the WRD family on the loss of our dear brother and radio icon Joey Temple. What a loss for the station and for our people. Joey was a beautiful brother, man. And nobody supported WRD more than Joey Temple. So I just want to put my condolences out to Joey and his family and everything. And hello to you and Jordan. Let me say this, Chris, before I talk about the fight and everything. My fellow Cowboys fan called up last week. I think his name is Steve from Hyansport, New Jersey. And I hope he wasn't smoking wacky weed. He said that the Eagles can do a lot of damage in the playoffs. The only kind of damage the Eagles can do is to themselves. You got to be kidding me. Eagles not going to see no playoffs, brother. Trust me, they won't see it. And if they happen to see about a chance, they'd be like they was last year, one and done. And they go for the Cowboys, too. See, one thing about me, brother.
That goes for the Giants and the Redskins. I mean,
yep.
Washington, too.
Right. See, one thing about me, Chris, I'm a realist. When I know my team is no good, our defense sucks. So even the Cowboys miraculously won the division because the Eagles and Washington, the Giants is just as bad. Because everybody equally bad. Some might be a little tad better. But I'm realistic. If they get in the playoffs by hoping, they're going to be done too, because it's not good enough they run into somebody like a Seattle or somebody like a Green Bay in the playoffs, Minnesota. They're going to be one and done. I mean, it's just the reality. None of the teams in the NFC, the only team in the NFC used to have a chance, Chris, and you know football as well as anybody, to have a chance to maybe win a playoff game, probably would be Washington, only because of the fact that Washington got a good running game and they got
a good defense.
And got a good defense,
yep.
Good front four, and I like Doug Peterson, like you and Brother Jordan. Brother Jordan knows his football as well. I like this Doug Peterson, who's like he has something against the run. Washington will run the football down your throat. So they, of all the NFC East teams, they have the best chance of beating somebody why if they get in the playoffs, they will be committed to the run, and they won't stop after one half. Because I understand about Doug Peterson, Chris and Jordan, is that when they played, I think they played Pittsburgh in that game back here several weeks ago. My man Miles Sanders had like 80-something yards in the first half, and he wound up not getting 100 yards. He only had like 2 or 3 carries in the second half. And when he had that long run for like 70-something yards, I'm like, dude, how you not get a ball to the man? He's running all through Pittsburgh, and you don't get a ball to him with 2 or 3 times.
Ignoring what
I
works.
understand. Yeah, I understand Doug Peterson. He got something against the running the football, and I know one of the guys said, "Well, Joe, you got to understand, he's under Andy Reid's tutelage." I said, "But Andy Reid is a different situation because Andy Reid got Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball." I said, not that Andy Reid don't run the football because he got guys that can run the football, but I said you got a quarterback.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but basically from the kid out of LSU.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the running back for the KC? What's his name, Chris?
For the Patriots?
I mean, for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the kid. He's a rookie out of LSU. He can run it, he can catch it, he can fry, dive, lay it to the side. And plus, the Chiefs have Tyreek Hill and a whole bunch of other guys that are fast. And Reid has proven when he has the tools that he can coach guys. But you're right. Doug Peterson reminds me of the old Andy Reid. This refusal to run the football. And you have Miles Sanders now. On the one hand, if Miles Sanders, sometimes when guys fumble, Miles Sanders has a tendency to fumble a little bit, and he has a tendency to drop a few passes here and there, but you don't stop giving it to him. I mean, you don't stop giving it to him. I mean, and the first time, it's like the first sign of trouble with the running game, someone fumbles or they get maybe 2 or 3 yards, they totally abandon it, and that's not helping the quarterback. And that's not helping the quarterback at all. And
Chris, I close. And you're right, Chris. Not close with this. I know you got other callers because when you look at Patrick Mahomes, you can't compare him to Wentz because Patrick Mahomes is a transitional player. He's a once in a lifetime type of quarterback. So if you throw the ball 50 times, I mean, that's not necessarily winning formula, but Patrick Mahomes is so extraordinary. He can pretty much whirl him to win just by throwing the ball. Because like in the last couple of games against the Raiders, against Tampa Bay, they was down or almost getting ready to lose, and Patrick Mahomes got the ball last and drove him down for either the winning touchdown or against Tampa Bay last week, Chris. He drove him down there when they ran out the clock. So Patrick Mahomes is a one-in-the-right-time quarterback. What's the difference? This can't have Wentz throwing the ball over the place because first of all, his head is not in it straight. And when we throw turnovers with Patrick Mahomes, he at the top of his game. He having an MVP season along with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers and people like that. So it's a different situation. Because I can't wait to hear the guy brother about the black quarterback. Because I always support my black quarterbacks because we've been so held back for so long. So I'm being on that and I'm going to fight real quick, Chris. If you'd have told me 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said, no way Danny could beat Earl Spence. But I think he might be catching Earl at the right time because after that accident, Earl may not be the same fighter. Now, I didn't see the interview, but you're in the accident. A lot of times you can suffer brain damage. And a friend of mine who's a big Earl Spence fan, Chris, he told me that he saw an interview that Earl did. He said, Joe, the brother wasn't talking right. He said, sorry, his speech was kind of slurred. He said, I'm not reading too much. I hope I'm not reading too much in it, but it doesn't sound like his normal stuff. And this guy's a big Earl Spence. Earl Spence is his favorite fighter. So all I'm saying, Chris, to you and Jordan and Joseph Sanzaquita, when you have Joe on, because I mean, he's the boxing expert, he might be catching Earl at the right time. So that's why I wouldn't be shocked if Danny won. But if I'm betting, I would probably still bet Earl Spence for that. But I would be shocked if somehow Danny won the fight. No, because Danny's a good fighter, and I like Danny. I met him in person. He's a good brother and stuff like that. So I'm going to sit back like everybody else, Chris, and watch the fight tonight, man. I hope you and Denise enjoy it, man. Y'all get y'all favorite beverage and some chicken wings, and y'all enjoying Jordan, too. And I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it tonight. And as far as the Eagles-Green Bay concerned, that's a loss. And when Dallas played the Ravens Tuesday night, that's a loss for the Cowboys. I mean, it is what it is, because I can't sugarcoat it.
Okay. Well, Joe, I appreciate the call and like you. And to quote Howard Phillips, thank you for telling it like it is. Now, here's a couple of things I have to say about that, though, with respect to with respect to the Eagles. You know, let's just say this: Carson Wentz. You know, I'm not you, Jordan. You are. But Carson Wentz is not all his fault now, because if you notice in that game, DK Metcalf, you know, beat Darius Slay like a rented goalie. And then got mad.
Right.
During the press conference, my man, I think it was Chris Franklin from the New Jersey paper up in Trenton. I can't remember the name of that paper, but he asked the question. He said, "Didn't you need some help?" And he got all mad and said, "Well, I don't need no help, dude. You needed help. Yeah. Admit it. Yes, you're a premier corner in the league." But I remember watching back in the '90s. I remember watching Michael Irvin take my man Darrell Green to school on numerous occasions. Okay, so every great cornerback needs help every now and then. Even Ronnie Lott needed help, although not very often. But even Ronnie Lott needed help every so often. And so don't get mad because the guy burned for about 10 catches. He caught 10 passes on you. You needed help. Mm-hmm. Admit it. You needed help. You needed help on that guy because he was burning you. It reminds me of back in the day when I was playing in the streets. There was this kid named Sean, and I used to take this little youngin to school every time in street football. It got so bad that his team captain had to guard me, and I took him to school. Okay, but I say that out of great humor. But I'm just saying that to make the larger point to all this, sometimes, and this is a league, admit that some guys are better than you. Mm-hmm. And another thing, running the football. Running the football would be good.
Yep, exactly.
Running the football would help out and I made that suggestion to Doug, and he blew me off. So I'm like, all right.
There you go. He's too stubborn. He's too stubborn to realize.
Yeah, do your thing, man.
Go.
Okay, before we go to break, we got Richard from North Philadelphia.
Yes, how you doing, Chris?
Man, I'm doing okay. How are you doing today? Everything good?
Not so good. Everything good, except for the Eagles. The Eagles are schizophrenic, man. They need a real psychiatrist, to dissect that team, and like that, the owner, Jeff, starts at Gus Peterson on down, and right now, I don't know if the Eagles really can find themselves, man, find a way, to somehow establish a good season, and Carson Wentz is not exactly, in the best shape right now, mentally, emotionally, and like that, so the Eagles will have to try to find some way to find the offense, and like that, and run the football like you were saying, with Miles Sanders and make use of him, So other than that, Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator, said something to Metcalf before the game. He said to Metcalf or something like that, and Metcalf got encouraged by that. He took some energy from that. And I don't know why Jim Schwartz would say something like that if you're the defensive coordinator to opposing running, to opposing receivers. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically, he took my man to school. They should have called Metcalf the bus because he was taking that brother to school, and that's a veteran, and every veteran gets burned. Let's just say this, I've seen Deion Sanders have a bad day once in a while. I mean, like I say again, sometimes the sun doesn't shine on a dog's rear end half the time. So, and on those days when it doesn't, it happens. But don't sit up there and act like, well, I ain't need no help. Yeah. In that situation, it would have been smart for your defensive coordinator, your DC, to tell you, bruh, we're gonna have to give you some help because this guy is just basically, and he even admitted, Slay even admitted himself that he won all the 50, Metcalf won the 50-50 balls, and of course there are a lot of Eagle fans who are out there saying he could have been on our team, which is why I look at Justin Jefferson. A lot of people kept telling me, oh, he just plays the slot. I said, you got to get this brother if that dude's available in the round that the Eagles were drafting, and they had to pick before the Vikings, they should have grabbed that brother. I like Jalen Reagor. I mean, he's right there.
Imagine a duo of Jefferson and DK Metcalf.
Oh
my goodness.
Oh my goodness, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Chris, what about
go ahead. I'm sorry.
In the NBA, Russell Westbrook got traded down to the Washington Wizards, and then John Wall went to Houston for a first-round draft choice. But now I don't know if Houston's going to see James Harden or not. I think I heard about that on the news the other day. You know, was it on ESPN, whether James Harden is still going to be there or not. So Sixers play the Washington Wizards. I know the first game, and they're going to go up against Russell Westbrook. So what about that?
Well, I'm going to say this. I think that right now, from what I understand, is that James Harden wants out of Houston as well. And there's been talk. I mean, Daryl Morey, there's been talk around that I've heard. And I'm going to bring in my man Brandon Robinson from Heavy.com to talk about that at about noonish today, to talk about what's going on with that. But if Harden's not happy, I don't know, could they bring him to the Sixers? I mean, they would have to give up somebody high profile for him. And I don't think the Sixers want to do that. And I don't think that they want to do that in the sense that, James Harden's a good player. Now, they've got shooters now. They brought in shooters, Danny Green and Seth Curry. I got to make sure I don't say Steph. Seth Curry. And you got a guy who can shoot 45% from three-point range. Mm-hmm. And they need bombers like that. And at the same time, I'm also hearing that Doc Rivers – but then again, Doc Rivers kind of said it. He said he's not going to put any kind of pressure on Ben Simmons, at least not initially, to start hitting those jump shots and everything, because he says that there's other ways. If Doc Rivers can figure out a way to make this work, then right on, brother. I'm with him. But I know we got so I know I think we had to go to break now. I'm sorry, we got to go to break, and from that standpoint, Richard, thank you for the call. But as we get ready to go, before we go to break, I do have to say there's reason to be optimistic. But I want to ask everybody a question. Should the Sixers try to get James Harden? Think about that. I think about some other things. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Heidi Seropoulos. If you're on Medicare, you should know that many Independence Blue Cross Medicare Advantage plans have a $0 copay for primary care physician visits and telemedicine medical doctor visits. All our plans have $0 in-network COVID-19 testing and treatment and the largest network of doctors and hospitals in our area.
Call 833-848-0762 today. TTY-TDD 711. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Or visit us online at ibxmedicare.com/doctors. Independence Blue Cross offers Medicare Advantage plans with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Independence Medicare Advantage plans depends upon contract renewal. Independence Blue Cross offers products through its subsidiaries Independence Hospital Indemnity Plan, Keystone Health Plan East, and QCC Insurance Company, independent licensees of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to Word Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Keep your dial locked to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the Word Radio app. Or watch live on Word TV via Facebook and YouTube. Word Radio. Independent Black Media.
Tune in Saturdays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. to hear Empire Capital and Consulting founder Mark Palmer's show titled Black Money, Black Power. This show centers around black money and how black power is derived from money. Tune in every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Black Money, Black Power, hosted by Mark Palmer.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. I'm looking at our Facebook page and whatnot. We have let me see, we have Haley Steven Austin, who says, and we're talking about, yes, it was bad Thanksgiving football. Yes, it was. Good Lord. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I devoted more time to eating, which normally I shouldn't devote more time to eating because I got a weight problem. Can't wait to eat. But the thing is, from that standpoint, it was just terrible football because of COVID. And as someone said, sports during COVID, and we need to talk about that too, Jordan. Mm-hmm. That sports during COVID has just been. I have a student doing a paper on sports and COVID, and so I gave him a lot of good suggestions. But the thing is that we just have this. I'll get to that in a moment. I'm just going to read some of these. Joseph Simmons says, "Hello, Word family from sunny South Florida. Errol Spence will KO Danny Garcia in the 7th round." I don't know about that. I don't think so. I think Garcia is not going to get KO'd in this fight. I think Danny's going to fight. He's a North Philadelphia kid. He's going to fight. Going to fight hard. And I don't know how much Errol Spence has left after that accident, a devastating accident. So we'll see. Joey Dixon says, "Crease Word family, jazz to you. Thank you very much." Glenn Williams, maybe starting the first year of your fiance, you can do a story on the vandalism of the Negro. Oh yes, someone called about that. Thank you very much for reminding me. Someone vandalized the Negro League Memorial, and that angers me because I think I probably will, if I can find time to do that story, and that's that breaks my heart because that in my opinion is a part of African American history, and I don't like when anybody vandalizes Black history if it's from people in the neighborhood or whatever. But I really I have an issue with that. And then moving on, someone said Viola Richburg Gray says if Wentz was a black quarterback, he'd be on the bench. Kendrick Talbot is talking about cricket in New Zealand, West Indies cricket in New Zealand, English soccer. We should probably start talking about soccer a little bit too. And I think I'll get into that. But and he was saying, and he's also saying the NFL should shut it down because of COVID. Thanks everybody for the Facebook contributions. And from this point forward, I'm gonna I want everybody who's on Facebook contribute, say something, call in, tell me I'm right, wrong, or indifferent. But I want to, but right now, it's my pleasure to welcome Lloyd Vance. And I wanted to welcome Lloyd Vance. Lloyd Vance is an expert on everything related to black quarterbacks. And Lloyd really knows his stuff when it comes down to that. And he's written a book. And he's written a book. For some reason, Senior Moment. Lloyd, tell me about the book you've written on the black quarterback. I know you helped to do the documentary series with Bill Rhoden for ESPN.
Hey, Chris, how are you? Glad to be on. And that book was Third and a Mile that I helped research the book and the documentary.
Okay. And so I got to ask about the Eagles quarterback situation, Jalen Hurts. Reports are coming out now that maybe the coaching staff really wasn't interested in drafting Jalen Hurts as interested as say the ownership was. What do you think of that quarterback dynamic between Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz, him struggling, and now it's kind of coming out that maybe Peterson's not interested in developing Jalen Hurts?
Well, it's almost seems to me it's time for Jalen Hurts to get his opportunity to play. And they made a big deal last week that he was doing more time of practice, and then he comes out, and they really didn't have a game plan for him. He plays a couple downs, and then they kind of take him out. But when you look at the way Carson Wentz is playing, it's just inexcusable. The missing of open receivers, the non-execution. He does not look comfortable in the pocket. I don't know what it is, but I think a lot of times it has to do with all the money. They gave him that huge contract, and they want him to succeed because of that contract. But let's face it, Jalen Hurts as a rookie quarterback, and we've seen a lot of rookies come in lately that have done impact for their team, particularly Lamar Jackson, his first year for the Ravens, and some other guys. Give him his chance. Give him his opportunity to go out there and play with the first-team offense. I know a lot of people have had this excuse about the offensive line. Well, Jalen Hurts can move a lot better than Carson Wentz away from the defense. So why not give him that opportunity? So hopefully in these next couple of weeks, if Peterson's truly working and trying to save his job, why not give him a chance?
Let me ask, because, when coaches aren't, in other words, when the ownership group puts pressure on the coaches to draft a certain guy, and I think about Dwayne Haskins in D.C., and I go back to another guy that a lot of people may not like so much, but I go back to I go back to my man, oh my God, quarterback at Texas, Vince Young. Lord have mercy, my brains aren't working great today. I think of Vince Young's situation in Tennessee. It came out, of course, that the coaching staff in Tennessee really didn't want to, help to develop Vince Young. Does that make a difference when, I mean, if you can talk about that dynamic where the ownership group may force a guy on a coaching staff, and it always seems to happen, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm coming out left field, but it always seems to happen to black quarterbacks when they are put in a situation where maybe the coaching staff isn't interested in developing them, or there's a perception that the coaching staff isn't interested in developing them.
Yes, Chris, quite often in the past there has been situations where young quarterbacks have gone in and they found out the ownership group wanted to head one direction and the coaching the other, and as the coach usually leaves, a lot of the times you hear these situations come about. And I remember when Vince Young was drafted, I was in New York talking to his whole family at Radio City Music Hall. Very exciting event for them. But one member of his entourage whispered to me, they really wanted Jay Cutler. A lot of people in Tennessee, that was their guy. He was from Vanderbilt, and they thought that could have been the quarterback there. But on the field, you really have to look at the performance and how these guys are able to carry teams now. And you're right, a quarterback and his head coach got to be hand in glove. You look at Andy Reid right now, the way he is with Patrick Mahomes, and I can tell you firsthand, and you could, being around the team as much as we were back then, Andy Reid and Don McNabb were always on the same page. In practice, they were always on the side talking to each other, talking about plays, talking about nuances of situations. And you need that because you're right. If you don't have the full coaching support and a coach that's going to design a playbook to make the guy be successful, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, and it's detrimental because I thought that even under those circumstances that Vince Young played in with Tennessee, Vince won a lot of games. A lot of people will go, oh, no, he wasn't all. Vince, I thought that if he had that coaching, if he had a coaching staff that truly was all in for him, I think his fate turns out a whole lot better than it did. And like I said again, the guy won a lot of games coming from behind, and then people kind of discarded him, and it didn't help on his end that he kind of walked out on the team, which is politically not good at all. But I just think that in a lot of those situations, a lot of times there's always the African American quarterback that has to struggle with whether or not the coaching staff wants you there. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about if you've been watching Dwayne Haskins' situation, because they benched him for Alex Smith. How should a quarterback react under those circumstances? How do you think a quarterback should react when he's in that situation. Looking at Jalen Hurts' situation where it's not sure if the coaching staff really believes in him. How should he conduct himself, under those circumstances?
Yeah, that's a tough situation that Haskins is in down there because, let's face it, Jay Gruden and that group drafted him, but they weren't all the same page. And Jay Gruden was out after a certain amount of time, and it made it difficult. I think the best thing, and I've talked to a lot of these quarterbacks, that when they're coming along, the best thing for them is just try to buy into the system, try to make it work with the coach, because going to the media just does not seem to work. I know a lot of now today younger guys are really into social media and they're having their voice heard and everything, but it just makes it difficult because we know all these coaches and general managers, they don't want to have egg on their face. They want to make sure that they want to show everybody that they were the smartest one in the room, that they picked the right guy. And I think that's what you're seeing a lot with Wentz now. They want to say, hey, this was my guy. We had it right. But these young quarterbacks, it's difficult because all along in college and in high school, they had the adulation, and now the coach may be coming down on them, and they have to make sure they keep their head in their playbook and just try to talk to their quarterback coach and other people around them that are going to be supportive.
Yeah, because that's a very dicey situation, and you don't develop them. Because I think that I look at now in the case of, say, Aaron Rodgers, he had a situation where if I think Brett Favre, who was the starting quarterback, rarely dealt with him, or supposedly, and so, but Rodgers came out of that situation and kind of kept his game and kept his nose to the grindstone and kept working, because it's easy to feel that sense of discouragement. But so do you think that where does Jalen Hurts have to go from here? Because Jalen Hurts is a unique situation, and I want you to kind of talk about what his real skill sets are too, because this is a kid coming out of both Alabama and Oklahoma. This is a guy who had to learn two different systems and all that. So what do you like about Jalen Hurts as a quarterback? What are some of the things that he brings to the table that maybe at this point in time that Wentz doesn't?
Yes, Chris, I think first and foremost, he needs to continue to close out the outside noise, and a lot of successful quarterbacks have done that throughout their history. And then you look at what Hurts was able to do down in Alabama. He was in a similar situation in terms of Nick Saban was kind of yo-yoing him in and out of the lineup with Tua, and then, he had to come in and save them in the SEC championship game, and then again, he played at a national championship level, and then he leaves there because he knows his opportunity is gone after Tua and his success there, and he goes to Oklahoma and just, as you were saying, picks up the playbook, puts his nose to the grindstone, and becomes a Heisman Trophy candidate at Oklahoma after one season. So he has presence in the pocket, able to move. It does a lot of this read option plays that we're seeing out there. Successful, a lot of younger quarterbacks, particularly African-American ones that can move around like a Kyler Murray. He's not as big as Kyler Murray, but he can get to the edge to make plays. I think his ceiling kind of be like a Russell Wilson. So I think you bring a lot of that to the table, and the Eagles will be wise to get him in the offense.
Yeah. And because we're looking at the state of the Eagles now. Looking at them now. I mean, they have all types of issues. Where do you look at, like, if you're struggling in the passing game, it seems like Coach Peterson doesn't want to. It's like he's stubborn and stuck at a certain situation. He's not going to give the ball to Miles Sanders. How much does a running game? And I'm sure how much can a running game help to settle a quarterback down, especially Wentz in this situation that he's in? Because it seems like all the pressure is on him, but it seems like the coaching staff doesn't want him to really utilize the other guys to help him out, or put Wentz in situations where he can be safe at passing the football.
Yeah, and Doug Peterson's kind of being very stubborn, in my opinion, and the running game could definitely help a young quarterback, and you see that with the Rams. They rode that all the way to the Super Bowl. Jared Goff making timely throws, but the team was really built around Todd Gurley and the scheme with that good, powerful offensive line. Now, I know the Eagles have had some difficulty in terms of injuries in their offensive line area, but Miles Sanders is a good, young, emerging running back. I think he'd easily get 1,000 yards if they committed to running the ball at least 25 to 30 times a game. And then that would limit the opportunities for Wentz to lead the NFL in interceptions with 15, putting the ball in harm's way. So they really should try to run the football, and I think that can help dictate the pace of the game, and then they could use a lot of play action to those quick receivers that they drafted.
Okay. One final question before we go, because you track all things African-American quarterbacks and all that, and I just want to get one sort of thing. You know, it seems like there seems to be more and more coming into the league, you know, that can do a lot of good things. Between Dak Prescott, you talk about what's happening with Russell Wilson, and, of course, my man Deshaun Watson, who's been playing lights out lately in spite of having his best receiver being traded from him. I guess you see. Can you say now that the future is bright? But are those issues still there about, you know? Because I remember when Jalen Hurts was drafted, someone, you know, mentioned something about him reading defenses, and it seemed like that it's always attributed to black quarterbacks.
Yes, Chris, and we've seen the emergence of the black quarterback. We know that we had a couple of MVPs. We had Pat Mahomes win the Super Bowl last year, and so they are rising, but there are situations in terms of scouting, whether it's profiling still going on. You heard that with Lamar Jackson. When he came out, they said he probably should be converted to wide receiver. Obviously, they were wrong. Some of these old school guys, he's the MVP. And you're right. You're also going to hear it in terms of some fans in social media and message boards and on talk radio, unfortunately. But I think these guys are really moving the position to a new level, and you're seeing probably 5 out of the top 7 quarterbacks, right? Less quarterbacks or black quarterbacks. So right now these guys are moving the game forward, and I think the next area is definitely getting more coaches and general managers and front office people of color.
Okay. Thank you very much. I got to go to break. Before I let you go, though, about Lamar Jackson. Real quick on Lamar Jackson. What does he have to do? Because he finds himself in a difficult position right now. What's his issue?
Yeah, so he really is going to need to start digging into his playbook and leaning on not just being a spectacular playmaker, but just doing the little things at the quarterback position and leading his team. So I know he has it in him. He's a good young guy, and this year's been kind of difficult right now. He's COVID, but I think he can move forward this situation, and John Harbaugh truly believes in him. So I just think staying in the playbook and learning that offense and leading that team is what he needs to do.
Okay. Where can we find anything where can we find your website or anything or any other work that you've done? Where can we find real quick?
Yeah, Chris, the best way to find my stuff now is on Twitter at Lloyd Vance. So that's at LLOYDVANCE, and that's where you can find me. And there's always links to my writing there.
All right. Thank you very much, Lloyd. Thank you very, very much for being here today. We're definitely going to have you back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD, Black Talk Media, the Chris Murray Report. I'll be right back.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
At PICO, we know one thing is certain. Times have changed. From kitchen classrooms to couch conference calls, searching for a new job, or new ways to keep your family connected. These changes have become a part of our reality. That's why our teams are working 24/7 to meet the needs of our communities. So no matter how much things change, you can depend on PICO to be there with the energy and help you need to power through. Learn more at pico.com.
Tune in every Saturday at 4 p.m. for the Did You Know Show with host Bryant Green, right here on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM.
Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of protecting you and your community from the worst of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we're back. This is a good conversation we had with Lloyd Vance on the whole Eagle situation, Jalen Hurts. So Hurts is going to have to just, I guess, do what be a professional. That's all you can do in that situation. I mean, you know what I'm saying, Jordan? I mean, it's kind of like, you know, I mean, I thought about Vince Young in that sense. Lord have mercy. You know, I have terrible. Sometimes, man, you do this show, and I can look at everything, and the next thing you know, my mind it's like, bam, you know. But the thing about Vince Young, because I too was at Radio City Music Hall when he was drafted, and I was there. I talked to him. He was ready. You know, he seemed like he was ready to roll, but the thing is that, you know, I don't think he handled that situation properly because Jeff Fisher did not want him. I mean, heck, Jeff Fisher couldn't handle Jared Goff, and they had to bring in the other coach, Sean. What's Sean's name?
Sean
McVay. They had to bring in Sean McVay, and as it turned out, he couldn't handle. I mean, it was a whole bunch of guys that Jeff Fisher was not good. I mean, he's like Buddy Ryan, not good at coaching quarterbacks. He just wasn't. I mean, he's a defensive guy. He was on. I mean, as a player, he was at SC. He was probably one of the greatest defensive backfields in the history of college football. But in the pros, as a coach, he couldn't. You know, he could barely handle. I mean, Steve McNair, when he was in Tennessee, made himself into a really good quarterback, but they never really gave him, you know, top flight receivers. It was just Steve McNair make a play, Eddie George, and maybe hit one of his receivers. But, you know, he never really, I mean, Steve McNair was just a phenomenal talent. And some guys do need development. Some guys need that help. So, wow, we got calls. We got Prince from Schuylkill. What's up, man? What's happening, Prince?
How are you? You know, Steve,
man.
All right, how are you? Let me make sure I let you answer first. How are you?
Man, I'm doing all right. I'm all right, man. You know, like I say again, you know, I feel like I need a big breakfast right now. I need some pancakes and some eggs and stuff, but you know, I'll do that later. Or diet pancakes and eggs. I can't really eat, you know, that stuff, man.
Man, I know you ain't doing diet pancakes, diet stir, sugar free. I will never eat with you if that's the case. So what happens is that what you're seeing is a breakdown of the farming system. And because they don't have enough people who are like the people that they're recruiting based on these farming systems, you can't get what you need out of a quarterback. Because now you're confusing the quarterback. There should be no Cam Newton is playing just as bad as Wentz is, because I seen him stand in the court. I seen him stand in the pocket when it was collapsing, and it didn't even dawn on him to run no more. Like he didn't have it in his instinct and his DNA to just take off and run like he did when he first came into the league. And
right.
So what we're doing is we're contaminating these folks because now we're so routinely trying to make them something that the game has changed past. You're not going to ever get a stand-in-the-pocket quarterback. Matter of fact, if you notice now between Russell Wilson and the quarterback from the Carolinas, we're getting shorter quarterbacks in the league now, which is a huge problem because the offensive linemen, once they put their hands up, they smacking down almost 25% of the balls now. Did you realize that?
Yeah. I do see that. I realize that. But see, they get but the thing about Russell Wilson and especially Kyler Murray, they make it work. They got baseball arms. They're baseball players, you know.
Yeah. They make it work. You're correct on that. But what I'm saying is that you are now looking at the white quarterback that's coming in the league that's not 6'7", that's not 6'6", and you're thinking because they can run. And most African Americans, the reason why they ran was for their life. And so when they really when they take a good hit, like Michael Vick, when he got hit by Brian Dawkins, all that running ceased because Dawkins laid him out when he was trying to score when he played for Atlanta. You know, he got hit.
Yeah.
He take that hit, and this is what Wentz is going through. Once he got hit, he he has never been the same. So I want to wrap up with this right here. I don't know if Dwight for the Sixers, Howard has ever been a mentor. I don't know if he's ever been a mentor, and I don't think he can be a mentor. And I think that unless you get rid of Ben Simmons, because everybody's making excuses like you are for Wentz on paying him a bunch of money.
I'm not making excuses for Wentz. I'm gonna correct you on that, brother. I am not making excuses for Wentz. You've not heard me. What I do in these situations is to get you to see the bigger picture. Yes, he sucks. He's playing horribly. But you gotta understand the whole thing. And that's my job as a journalist, is to try to say, well, you gotta consider this angle and that angle. But he's playing awful. Go on, I'm sorry.
Hey, Wentz won't, after the Green Bay game, if he doesn't get pulled, he probably won't play the rest of the season. But Dwight Howard has never been a mentor.
Right.
And the fundamental problem is, I would have rather had the other guy than for you to bring Dwight Howard in, because he's never gotten his. He wanted to be Superman, but Shaquille already had that. He wanted to be he won his day where he the man, and LeBron had that. So he caught between a rock and a hard place. So he's not going to mentor Embiid. He's going to try to get his down low point. The only thing he can show Embiid is how you need to keep your butt down low and score these points down low. But the problem is that you got to bring a shooter in here, because you killed Ben Simmons' enthusiasm on dropping 40 or dropping 60 points when you start letting your 7-foot-tall center start shooting jump shots. And so
I agree with that.
If you trade Ben Simmons and you get a Harding, you're going to get from Harding what you got from AI. You're going to get somebody or what you got from the guy that we traded that went to the Heat. You're going to get somebody that's an assassin and that take the game over when they see everybody else is not playing at the same level. And I'm going to hang up and listen to you.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I got to go to break. I got to go to break in about a minute. But the thing is, if they, if Harden can come here and be that assassin, if he can be the Jimmy Butler assassin and do that and take over the game and not just be concerned about the volume of points he likes to score, then he'd be a welcome presence here. So, but how much of the Sixers' firstborn did they have to get rid of to get him? Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go to break. We're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Man, this coronavirus has us all moving differently.
No doubt. Like washing our hands more and social distancing with the crew. I'm always telling people to give me 6 feet. We're here, Grandma.
There's my babies. Good to see you got your mask on.
Wear mask. Stop the spread. For more information, visit www.pa.gov/COVID.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour work day, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staton Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staton, Executive Director of LESIT.
Now's your chance to watch the best new play of the season at home. Philadelphia's Wilma Theater is now streaming the thrilling drama Heroes of the Fourth Turning until December 13th. 4 friends reuniting at their Catholic college in Wyoming as they wait for the arrival of their mentor. Secret passions and fears surface, revealing their troubled place in a divided country. The New York Times raves that Heroes of the Fourth Turning is astonishing. To stream the Wilma Theater's production of Heroes of the Fourth Turning tonight, visit wilmatheater.org.
This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. Okay, now before, I'm waiting for my man Brandon Robinson to call in to talk about the NBA free agency and his last trade. But right now, we got BG from Germantown. BG, how are you?
Hey, how you feel, brother Chris?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm just trying to hang in there, man, because I'm hungry, man.
It's not good for a black man to be hanging, brother. You don't want to be hanging, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's true.
RG3 is another example of black quarterbacks. Mike Shanahan didn't want him. He wanted Kirk Cousins, so when RG3, he left him out there when he was injured and he got hurt. And it was kind of sad. I watched RG3 play last week, and, man, it was really sad to see, because I thought that he was going to be phenomenal, but, he never recovered from that injury. And he's another example of a black quarterback who the coach didn't really want him. Like I said, he wanted Kirk Cousins. He didn't even want him to draft, but the owner drafted RG3. And watching RG3 last week and then watching Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, it was just a fiasco all the way around to see the Roy Jones-Mike Tyson thing. I'm glad I didn't pay to watch that. Roy Jones didn't look like he even trained. I thought he was going to have a heart attack in the ring. I don't like these boxing exhibitions. You can do that on basketball, have a senior tour in golf or tennis, but somebody could get killed out there, really. You know what I mean? With boxing.
Yeah, I meant to bring that up because that was like watching two uncles in the backyard at the cookout. Yeah, come on. I mean, that's like Uncle Jethro and Uncle. Well, they was getting it in. They was getting it in, man. And I mean, I watched that and I didn't pay for it. I didn't pay for it either.
Nah.
But the thing is, I was just like, come on, dude. I mean, then Nate Robinson got clocked. It was just really?
Nate Robinson. Why would he even try? I don't understand why he would even think about getting in a boxing ring at 35. He lost to a YouTube fighter. But the thing I'll tell you one thing that was established from watching that last week, all these people who get caught up in nostalgia, who think Mike Tyson, they act like, Mike Tyson and Michael Jordan are Teflon to me. People act like they never failed, like Michael Jordan never got swept in the first round by Boston, and they act like Mike Tyson never got knocked out, like he was the best fighter of his era. He wasn't. Holyfield was clearly superior, and so was Leonard.
Absolutely.
But the thing is about Tyson, there's these people who actually think that he could beat Tyson Fury or Wilder Joshua. He has no chance whatsoever. Hold on to the memories of Mike Tyson. I love Mike Tyson, but you do not want to see that man get. He couldn't even beat that boy Andy Ruiz. He would get smoked by today's current fighters. He has no chance. He's not going to pull a George Foreman, that's for sure.
No, he's not going to do that.
No.
And I like Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson, and I always said this, I got to find my homies from years ago. But you'll be surprised to know, well, you shouldn't be surprised, but I said years ago that Michael Spinks, I thought because of his boxing ability that he would beat Mike Tyson. Although until he got in the ring and I saw the fear on Spinks' face.
Yeah, he's terrified going to the ring. You can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw, and I was just like, wait a minute. But if you know boxing, Michael Spinks was a cagey fighter. Michael Spinks beat guys he shouldn't have beat.
Yeah, that's true.
But that was an exception. But I always told people though, to beat Mike Tyson, you need to have Larry Holmes in his prime. Larry Holmes was old by the time he fought Mike Tyson, but a guy with a stiff left jab and lateral movement, you beat Mike Tyson. You can beat him. I mean,
some guys can, some guys can't. Because I used to be an amateur fighter. Some guys, it depends on how you hold up under the pressure. Like some guys can stick and move, but if you put the heat on them, they can't take it. You got to have endurance. Who gave Mike Tyson a tough fight? It was underrated, and people. That's why I knew Buster Douglas them had a great chance. Quick Tillis Early in Mike Tyson's career, took Mike Tyson the distance, and it was a very competitive fight. And this is when Mike Tyson was destroying everybody. And Quick Tillis, like you said, had the basic tools, the jab, the footwork, and Quick Tillis wasn't a great fighter. So, you know, I love Mike Tyson, but the Mike Tyson hype is greater than the reality. And the thing is, like I said, he could not beat the current crop of heavyweights. And I was listening to my man talk about James Harden, calling him an assassin. James Harden is an assassin in the regular season, but he's one of the all-time choke artists in the playoffs. That guy will choke in a minute. That guy is
true.
Jimmy Butler carried that Miami team he carried to the finals. I think might have been the worst team ever went to the final. James Harden has had a lot of talent. Westbrook, CP3, Dwight Howard. He's had good teams, and he has not even been to the finals yet. So I don't look at him as an assassin at all.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and that's why I was saying that James Harden is great for volume, but when you need him when you need him in the clutch, it's like, you know, he's Terry McMillan, disappearing acts, everything. He's that guy, and
I just wanted to say one last thing, man. I heard Germantown Joe say Joey Temple died, and, you know, I pray he rest in peace. And I pray, man, I've been listening to him forever on WRD and WHAT, and I didn't know he was sick or anything, but I just pray he's at peace and his family's at peace. Have a good one, brother.
Thank you very much. Okay, we got and see, let me just elaborate on, you know, the thing about that fight, you know, that was just like two old guys getting together in the backyard. Like, come on, let me say a little something. You know, like, you know, come on, son. Let me say, you know, it was Jordan. It was hilarious, man. I mean, it was just like, and Roy Jones Jr. looked like, oh man, I can't wait. He had this look. I can't wait till this is over. I'm gonna get my money. I'm going back to Florida. That's why he said he gonna check with his family. And if I was his family, I would say, Roy, enjoy retirement. Enjoy your money. I know money is money. You know, you gotta make money, but enjoy your retirement. Go fishing. You know, walk on the beaches of Florida and all that other stuff. Because like I say again, that's like that reminded me, Jordan, of the last time I tried to play. It was in West Philadelphia. I tried to play, you know, touch flag football, right? And in practice, we were practicing. I could still catch. I was doing all little drills. I got in the game. I pulled the muscle. I was going on a simple out route. I was a center. On a center pass. I went out for a simple out route. At 13, 14, 15, boom, Chris Rock, boom, caught. I ran, and all of a sudden, and I heard the crick in my hamstring. I was like, what in the hell? I was like, oh, man. And they helped me off the field. And then Denise read me the riot act when I got home. So no, old people should never think they could play with young. As good as you don't get it twisted. There's master leagues for track and field, sprint relays, old guys. That's fine. When you're competing against other old people, that's fine. But boxing, no, you can't do that in boxing. Boxing is no, man, you can't do that. Let me think. We got Brandon on. Okay. Yep. Let me, like I say, Joseph from Massachusetts and Brother Tim will get to you in a moment. Brandon Robinson from Heavy.com, Scoop B podcast, man, who I go to him more so than I would go to anybody else in the NBA to talk about what's going on. So, Brandon, the trade last night, NBA-wise, I'm going to ask you some Sixers questions too, but the trade John Wall for Russell Westbrook. What are your thoughts on that? And who becomes the better team out of that situation, and who becomes a threat to contend, if any, if that's the case?
Always good to talk to you, Chris. I think that the trade between Houston and Washington, I think definitely betters both teams, but in different ways. And I kind of put it incomplete on the trade because you're looking to see does Houston move James Harden or does he go? I like the fact that John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins are reunited, college teammates at Kentucky. friends. It's always been talked about how much they wanted to play together in the NBA. Now that opportunity. You see another uniting on the other side with the Washington Wizards, with Russell Westbrook returning as a player on the lineup or in the lineup under Scott Brooks. But I think that when you look at Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal and the Eastern Conference, I think that it gives Russell a chance to kind of, in the eyes of people, because I think people have a perception of Russ, it gives him an opportunity to play on a young team with an all-star in Bradley Beal, and kind of it changes the perception if it works out, particularly in an Eastern Conference. Similarly to how last year Chris Paul was on an Oklahoma City Thunder team, and people didn't really have expectations. I think it's going to drive Russell to really want to play well, but I think it benefits both teams for different reasons.
Okay, so this is the biggest deal so far. But what effect does that have on James Harden? Harden reportedly wants out of Houston. Am I correct? I mean, he wants out. He does want out of Houston now.
Yeah,
Houston's like a sinking ship now.
He formally requested a trade last month. A lot of it has to do with Houston Rockets owner Tillman Fertitta. Right. I can tell you that Russell Westbrook didn't want to play for him, but James turned down an extension, and he has had his eyes set on playing elsewhere. But a lot of it has to also do with just how this team has changed over the last few years. I mean, this is a team that was a Chris Paul Game 7 injury away from potentially making it to the NBA Finals. And it didn't happen that way. And, you ended up trading Russell Westbrook or trading Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook. And Chris Paul has seen greener pastures, in Oklahoma City now, a member of the Phoenix Suns. I can tell you that, there are teams that have inquired. Obviously, everybody knows about the Nets' desire to potentially pair him with, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But, the 76ers was the talk of the town. The Celtics inquired briefly about that, as has the Golden State Warriors. And I look at that, the Golden State Warriors situation, why would the Houston Rockets want to trade Harden to a competitor in the NBA's Western Conference? But to answer your question, yes, he did ask for a trade. I think, from various people that I've spoken to, they still feel as though Harden is next, but he's not going to come cheap. When you look at the Nets situation, it kind of reminds me of the Anthony Davis Lakers situation when Davis was still a member of the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans wanted the whole kitchen sink, and then the Lakers weren't necessarily biting on that. And, ultimately in June of 2019, the Lakers were able to acquire Davis, but the Lakers also had a first-round pick to delve out to the Pelicans to make that happen. So I do think that I don't think there's anything imminent, but I do think at some point, whether, albeit we're talking the trade deadline or, next offseason, it could be a situation where Harden ultimately leaves.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question. There are some people who want, in this town, in Philly, they would love to see James Harden in Philadelphia. The Sixers would have to give up maybe their firstborn. I'm being facetious, but they would have to give up something equivalent to that to basically get him. Do you see, and even though Daryl Morey is very familiar with James Harden, do you see Daryl Morey maneuvering some things to bring James Harden to Philly, and how would he fit in Philly? How could he potentially fit in Philadelphia if they were to somehow get him?
Well, I was reporting, ahead of the draft that, there were concerns of conversations I'll say between multiple teams about the availability of Ben Simmons, and everything that the Sixers have said regarding Simmons has been, we want to continue to pair him with Joel Embiid and give it another go. After losing in the NBA playoffs, Elton Brand expressed that they were going to still keep, that duo together. And, you had to hold Elton and others at their word that was what they're going to continue to do. And then along came Daryl Morey, who was in a front office role with the Houston Rockets, and who does have a pretty familial relationship with one in James Harden. I have heard in past discussions that Simmons maybe would like to be in a situation where he's the focal point of a team. And I know that recently he discussed the fact that he and Joel were going to move in together and work on their relationship. That being said, all indications seem that the Sixers are going to give it another run for at least a year and then see what happens. I mean, this is the Sixers team who has surely upgraded their roster this season through the draft, or this offseason through the draft, and, bringing in the likes of Seth Curry, who's a proficient shooter, even those who have their gripes about Danny Green. In Los Angeles, this is still a guy that shoots 36% on catch and shoots this season, or this past season, and won an NBA championship this season. Had two others to boot with that, and you added Dwight Howard. So I think that the excitement that some Sixers fans have with an updated roster, and bringing in a new team president in Daryl Morey, and competing in an NBA Eastern Conference, I think giving it a go, may be the righteous decision in the interim, particularly because you have a chance to. I think you upgraded your roster this offseason in comparison to last offseason. I really do think that not having Jimmy Butler and J.J. Redick last season, after going pretty far in the playoffs the season before this past that just ended, I think it makes sense to give it another go. But man, I wonder what would have happened if the Sixers were able to retain Jimmy Butler and J.J. Redick, and maybe not have spent so much money on Al Horford, and ultimately Horford is gone, and it seems to be a new era in Philadelphia. I mean, you look at the Eastern Conference, you do a lot, and see how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, here you're coming in and out now. Because I was going to ask you the question: are the Sixers a legit contender in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I think you look at the Eastern Conference, there are a few contenders. I mean, number one, the Miami Heat are the Eastern Conference champs. And I think that surprised many people, but for anybody who's in Philadelphia, you knew what you had with Jimmy Butler, So when you look at the 76ers, I think that they've definitely upgraded their roster. They do have a big three in Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons. And you have other pieces to fill that you did that this offseason. But you still got to look at the Milwaukee Bucks. You still have to look at the Brooklyn Nets. There are some other teams there, but I think Philly is right there in that pot of teams that are decent in the NBA's Eastern Conference. But they still got to compete with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah. Speaking of which, this free agent season, everybody's talking about the Lakers were probably the biggest, the biggest winners of that with their most interesting, if probably not the best free agent signing, Montrezl Harrell. They signed him away, and Montrezl Harrell really played well for a Clippers team that some would argue underachieved. And how big was that for the Lakers? And I think LeBron signed another extension and all that. How are the Lakers poised to be a repeat champion in the NBA at this point?
Well, yeah, I think number one, to beat the champ, you got to beat the champ. I mean, the Lakers, to me, chemistry-wise, is what's really an intriguing case study. I mean, really and truly, Dwight Howard didn't return. You brought in Montrezl Harrell, and you also brought in Dennis Schroeder, who I talked about catch and shoots with Danny Green. He shoots 40% he shot 40% on catch and shoots last season. Anytime you play with LeBron James, you have to have proficient shooters. You add Marc Gasol, a defensive anchor. You lose JaVale McGee. I think that the Lakers become a better half-court team. And I think, even though they can still run, losing Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, you lose some of those lobs and that defensive presence, and you have more of a stoic defensive anchor in that, and it makes LeBron play a lot more point in losing Rondo. But I still do think that the Lakers will still be right there, and I think. But there are some other teams in the Western Conference that I think you still got to pay attention to. Denver, the Clippers, the Utah Jazz, but the Lakers are king currently.
Right. What about Golden State? They drafted the kid out of Memphis, and of course they had a setback with Klay Thompson now being out for this coming season. Where are the Clippers at? I mean, not the Clippers, but the Warriors, because like I say, they had all that running championships, and they brought in some guys, but are the Warriors back at that point, especially if Steph Curry stays healthy? Are the Warriors a player in the Western Conference?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be there, and I should have mentioned them as well. I think a year removed from the prowess of the Warriors, I think people could get amnesia, but I think even without Klay Thompson, a healthy Steph Curry, healthy Draymond Green, and I think the Warriors will still be there. I just think right now I'm more impressed with the Lakers because of their roster, because of their chemistry, that I am the Warriors. But the Warriors, to me, are still a competitive squad that you can't sleep on.
Wow. So the Clippers, now that they've lost, they still have Kawhi Leonard, and do they? They also added Serge Ibaka and Luke Kennard from the Detroit Pistons. So are the Clippers? Will we have that sort of Staples Center rivalry that we missed out on because I don't know, the Clippers got clipped in the Eastern semis and whatnot? I mean, the Western semis. I mean, are the Clippers that good? Paul George and company, they got a new coach. Are they going to be left out of the mix now? Or have they gone down a bit, or are they going to be a significant competitor in the Western Conference?
Chris, I look at the Clippers and I think to myself, man, everybody thought that the Lakers and the Clippers were going to be that team playing in the conference finals, and then the Denver Nuggets had other plans. I think a lot of it has to do with the top, as it relates to who's in charge. And, a lot of people blame Doc Rivers. He's now in Philadelphia. But when I look at Ty Lue, I look at this as a resurgence. Everybody looks at Ty Lue and says, hey, you won a championship because, you LeBron handpicked you. And
right.
And so when I look at that Clippers situation, I think that was a time to prove to people why he's actually a good coach. I mean, I've spoken to people who, recently during the pandemic on the Scoopy Radio podcast about how even as a player, as a member of the Lakers, people knew that he was destined to be a coach, and how he really scouted out defensive assignments pregame and endgame, and just his conversation during the game about just different matchups. I think this is a guy. I feel like Ty Lue is everything Kevin Ollie was supposed to be in the NBA. A guy in Ty Lue who's played with the likes of Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and more, and now is charged with the task of managing guys as it relates to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. A lot of this is really having to do with just their personnel and how they bring it on the court. I think this past season was an experimental phase as it relates to Clippers. Everybody had the expectations, including themselves, that they would win the whole shebang, and they did it. So if I'm the Clippers, I feel a little disrespected that the team down the hallway is the champion, and we got to go toe-to-toe with them. And I think Denver really was a hard-nosed team that brought it. I think if I can make an analogy, I feel like Denver and the Clippers and the Milwaukee Bucks are in a similar situation. They were the paper champion, and they got outclassed by a team that nobody saw coming. So the Nuggets in the Western Conference to the Clippers, and the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference to the Bucks.
And I was gonna say, going back, the Bucks, with Giannis Antetokounmpo, they're at that point. They're at that point where they upgraded some guys, but will they ever get out of their own way and really take the Eastern Conference? I mean, they on paper they're the best team, but they just can't seem to get out of their own way in tough matchups in the playoffs.
I think that the biggest issue is just you got this guy Giannis Antetokounmpo who's going to be around for a while. You got to find a way to make him happy and make him stay. It kind of reminds me a lot of the LeBron James first tenure with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He left Cleveland, went to Miami, became a better player, won a couple rings, came back to Cleveland, and won them a ring. And I think when you look at the situation with the Milwaukee Bucks, I mean, I look at Giannis Antetokounmpo as just a guy who is still, as good as he is, he's still growing and is going to be even better. It kind of reminds me a lot of Dirk Nowitzki in his first few years in Dallas. He was a big man, a European big man with that was the size of a power forward center with a small forward finesse game. And I think later in life, his game literally became more like the finest of fine wine. It just got better with time. You knew when to bang with the Duncans of the world and when to, play the finesse game like a Peja Stojakovic and others. And I think when you look at Giannis, I mean, Chris Middleton, is a fellow All-Star, but, I know that he had a wish list of people he'd like to have joined forces with in Milwaukee, which was, the Chris Pauls and the James Hardens of the world. And, none of those guys came. Boban Bogdanovic was almost there. Didn't happen. They ended up getting former Sixer Jrue Holiday. Like, I look at that Bucks team, and I wonder if they're going to outplay and outclass the likes of the Heat, the Nets, Sixers. It's just a very precarious situation because there will be suitors this offseason if he doesn't sign the Supermax to easily. The Toronto Raptors and the Dallas Mavericks, as well as the Miami Heat and the Warriors, come to mind. As a potential, a future team. The Lakers as well.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, we got a lot. We can talk about this all day, but I'm sure you're looking forward to Christmas Day, man. I'm definitely gonna bring back if I can get you around Christmas time. Although I'm also gonna be getting ready for a wedding, as you probably know by now. But in any event. Good to have you as always. Love your insights on the league, and we'll certainly have you back. So, you looking forward to Christmas though, for the NBA season to start? Is this your favorite time of the year?
It's a different time of the year because I think starting on Christmas, it reminds me of the lockout shortened season in 2011, where the season started on Christmas a few days earlier. I never really. I think during the bubble and then transitioning from that to now. I've enjoyed some downtime, but I feel like I never stopped working. Chris, I do think that COVID has changed the way that we've done everything, but, I'm thankful to have a job, and I'm thankful that, the game that I love is my passion. So maybe I'm disappointed it's not as long of a long season as usual, but what's normal these days in the pandemic that we're in?
That's true. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Brandon Robinson, Heavy.com. You can listen to his podcast, the Scoop B Radio podcast, on Apple Podcasts and a whole bunch of other forums. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD, the Chris Murray Report. We'll be right back. And Brandon, thanks. Have a good one.
Jefferson Health offers no-cost COVID-19 testing sites at St. Raymond of Pinafort Church. Testing is on Thursdays and Saturdays. A second testing location has been added at Richard Allen Preparatory Charter School. Testing is on Wednesdays and Fridays. For testing hours and more information, call 1-833-533-3463.
Word Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Halana, your resident health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. We breathe every day and have been doing so since before we were born. But wait, let's think about this for a moment. Something as simple as breathing can enhance our health and well-being. When we breathe mindfully, we slow down, take deep breaths, and activate our parasympathetic system to relax our bodies. Mindful breathing goes like this. Number 1, find a comfortable place to sit still for a few minutes. Number 2, close your eyes and relax your hands on your thighs. Number 3, take a deep breath in and count to 3. Then exhale your breath and count to 3. Do this 5 times. We sometimes think mindful breathing has to be an intense experience, yet even just a few minutes a day can make a big difference. Go ahead and try it today. Stay well with Word. Happy living.
Stay well with Word. Connect with us at wordradio.com.
Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of protecting you and your community from the worst of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. We got a couple of phone calls that are waiting for if they're still there. Joseph from Massachusetts. First of all, if you're still there, thank you for patiently waiting.
Yeah, how you doing, Chris?
I'm doing okay, Joseph. How are you?
All right. You know, when you compete in an event and somebody very important that you dream of being like pass away, it's like you got to share with other people that, you know, all the great athletes have passed away. I did the decathlon in college, and one of you heard of Raphael. I always say Raphael because of when I first started reading up on him in 7th grade. Raphael Johnson.
I'm talking about Rayford Johnson. Yeah, Rayford Johnson, the decathlete. Yeah.
Yeah, he passed away last week.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, the only thing I miss about the Cold War is I like to see Russia and the Soviet Union best scored against each other. And he had the world record, and the Russian had it at one point. And another Japanese guy, his teammate at UCLA, well, he passed away last week. He was 86. He was involved with a lot of things, acting, working with the Red Cross, coaching. He was an outstanding athlete. And another athlete that passed away a couple of months ago, you ever heard of a guy called Bobby Morris? The last one. Yeah. Bobby Morris. He's the last white guy to win the international competition for America in track and field 100 meter. Well, he went to my college. Yeah, 1952. Yeah, 1950. He passed away a couple of months ago. He went to the college I went to, Abilene Christian University in West Texas. We won 7 straight Division II national track and field championship. We beat Texas El Paso record more than any other school. Well, these are the guys. And one other guy I like to give a big up to. I think he's still around. You ever heard of a guy called Harvey Glantz?
Harvey Glantz. He finished 4th at the 1976 Olympics in Montreal. I remember Harvey Glantz. And he was on the 4x1 team that won the gold medal.
Yeah, well, the guy that won the gold medal for my country was Hazy Crawford from Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Yeah, they had Donald Corey from Jamaica and the Russian guys, Walter.
Valery Borisov. Valery Borisov, yeah.
Yeah, but Harvey Glantz, he was hurt. He was nursing an injury. I can't even remember seeing him, but he was the American best then. I was at Auburn, when I was at Auburn University for one trimester, we had weight room competition, and they had his record up there at Auburn. He was like a 137-pound guy, and he bench pressed like 315 pounds. He was a hell of an athlete. But I just give it up to Raphael Johnson. You know, the reason why I did the decathlon was because of Bruce Jenner in 1976 Olympic. But Raphael Johnson said he turned to decathlon when the coach took him to meet to see Bob Matthews, 1952, I think, Olympic decathlete champ.
Right.
Yeah, and last one, I told you last week about the best football player in America during this time was Jim Thorpe. Many experts will say he was the greatest athlete of all time. He was the first decathlete gold medalist at the modern Olympic in 1904. So, you know, big ups to all them great decathletes. You know, Bruce Jenner, Bob Matthews, Raphael Johnson, Daley Thompson, and me. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Joseph from Massachusetts. That's right. Rayford Johnson won in 1964 in Tokyo the Olympics with gold medals, and he was also with Bobby Kennedy when him and Roosevelt Greer were, I guess, his bodyguards or were close associates of him when Kennedy was campaigning in Los Angeles. When, you know, of course, after he won California, he was assassinated. So Rayford Johnson was a heck of an athlete, great athlete, man. And to win a decathlon, you really have to be really great. And so God rest his soul as well. We got Brother Timothy. Is he still with us from South Philly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. My man, first of all, thank you for your patience. Thanks for hanging in there with us. What do you got to say today? What's going on?
I'm going to say something, Brother Murray. Anything for you, man. You're a great guy, man. I don't mind waiting, man. You know, you're worth the wait. But I'm going to say this first. I'm going to say this. My condolences go out to Joey and his family. His life was URD. That was his life, man, whether he was the city council, whether he did the music on Saturdays and Sundays, holidays, and also for Cody Adams for being there. That's his life right now. And he's done a great job with URD and radio and keeping it alive. And another thing I want to say, Brother Murray, is what I like about you as a gentleman, you always mention Denise. She's a wonderful person. And, you know, I don't hear as much as I hear you, I think about her. And you make me know her and her better. She got to be a woman because you keep on talking about her. I want to say
go ahead.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I want to say this, brother, that there's something missing in boxing. So when Roy and Tyson wanted to come back for a rematch, and it's only an exhibition, it goes to show you that's missed. And MMA has done something to take away from boxing, but even on the internet, I'm always pulling up Ali, I'm always pulling up Sugar Ray Robinson, I'm always pulling up Archie Moore, and when he fought Floyd Patterson, and Sugar Ray Leonard, and Philadelphia fighters, Joe Frazier, Tyrone Evans, Saquon Arts, Benny Briscoe. So I haven't seen it, but I'm going to say this, that when you see a person and they're learning how to box, and you bring up these people of old, and they don't know. They might get Merriweather. I mean, I'm not knocking Merriweather. So I'm looking at all that we can give back when it comes to the professionalism of athletes. We need to do it. Now, of course, we knew, like Ali said, when Spinks beat him the first time, Drew Bardini jumped in the ring and said, "They robbed you." Ali said, "No. He said, I'm coming back." He said, "But guess what? Boxing's for a young man." Boxing's for a young man.
Yeah, boxing is for young men. And what I know you didn't see it, but what that amounted to was, okay, you and me getting together and try to slap box or something like that. And I look, man, my athletic skills are long of memory, but but you know what though? You touched on something though. I think that people as MMA, and the thing is, I'm starting to like a little. I mean, MMA, you know, I like MMA. If nothing else, is good at having some storylines. You know, like I like that. But people really aren't MMA fans. People, if you put boxing on TV, people are going to watch. People love boxing. I mean, even young kids, you know, they love boxing more than they love MMA. And boxing right now, if you look at the welterweight division, because I'm going to talk about Danny Garcia in a minute, but in the welterweight division, you might have one of the best classes of fighters since the days of Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Wilfred Benitez, Roberto Duran, and even in terms of light to middleweights, even guys like Marvin Hagler, who ended up fighting all those middle guys who were welterweight champions. And so you had Pepino Cuevas, Carlos Palomino, you had all these guys in that situation, okay? This might be the most competitive ever, okay, because you got Keith Thurman, you got Manny Pacquiao still hanging around. You got Sean Porter, who's probably one of the toughest guys I've seen in a sport in a while. You got Danny Garcia, who nobody's giving any respect to. I think Danny Garcia is going to win tonight. I think he's going to give a good fight tonight. I'm not going to say he's going to openly win, but I'm just going to say that he can win if he gets everything right. But Errol Spence, you got Crawford. All these promoters have to do, all Bob Arum and Heyman and Golden Boy, let these kids fight. Everybody can make money out of it. Put it on regular TV. You know why I have a long interest in boxing? You know why I'm a big boxing fan? because, you know, I like boxing because they put it on ABC's Wild World of Sports. So if you see me talking about Carlos Monzon, when I used to watch him fight Rodrigo Valdez in the middleweights back in the 70s, when I fight, I mean, they were on TV. They like Monzon would fight from it would show from Monte Carlo, live via satellite from Monte Carlo. Monzon's beating the crap out of somebody. And he was a good fighter before Hagler and them guys came along in the 70s, because like right around time Hagler and those guys were coming up and whatnot. Benny Briscoe, the guys we talk about, you know, Monzon was the man in middleweight division. But it was on TV. People loved boxing. I mean, people loved Sugar Ray Leonard in the 70s in the Olympics. People love it. You just got to find the right star, and you got to put it out there because people will watch. I mean, people saw his paper, and you said you're right. There's something missing. That means people still love the sport. Boxing. I mean, they can watch MMA. MMA hasn't, it's on ESPN. You see it, but MMA doesn't generate the kind of thing that when you got two good boxers, people are going to come out and pay a pay-per-view. And it's still big around the world. It's still the big thing around the world. So now, man, I get it. I dig it, man. I dig where you're coming from. Boxing is missing something. I'm not sure I'll ever want to watch two old men fight. You know, I'll get Joe San Laquito and let us box, and we'll do it. You know, we'll you know, like I said, I'll let him knock me out once, and then I'll knock him out, and we'll go get paid and whatnot. But that's it. And I'm being facetious. I ain't stepping in no ring. Not the kid. No. I still want Denise to have a pretty face to kiss or whatnot. Well, I wouldn't call myself pretty, but you know, yeah. I mean, I'm at least my mom likes me. But the thing is, I think people are clamoring for boxing to be great again. I do.
You're right. I'm gonna say this also, my brother, that it was locally. I remember my uncle used to go in the 70s, in mid 70s, late 60s. We could go on a ticket, and it would be Cyclone Hars, Benny Briscoe, it would be Tyrone Everett, and Boogaloo Watts, right? And that ticket, you might have paid $12, man. Oh my God, man! And you know what they say, to make it, you had to come to Philadelphia to spar. You know, if it's a music town, it was a music town, but it was also a boxing town. So they made it they made it convenient. They made it convenient for you to go to the fight. And so, and here's the thing. And out of all of it, during my time period, Ali dominated the ring. The whole time he was in the nation. From the time he was in the nation all the way up to 74. And you know, when they went to Ali and they said, "This is the best time of your life," he said, he said, "The best time of life is meeting Elijah Muhammad." But that whole movement of Ali, he called Spinks the vampire. Joe Frazier was the gorilla. He called Foreman the mummy. He called Corey brother the washwoman. You know, all that he was, the marketing, his backup, what he could say, what he could do. I hate the mere fact he fought Holmes. I wish he would have stopped after Spinks, because he beat Spinks the second time. He's still, like he said, the greatest of all times. But pound per pound, 100 years, Sugar Ray Robinson. The greatest of all times. He said he could have fought any heavyweight at any time and beat him. I don't know. We didn't do it. But Sugar Ray Robinson, without a doubt, almost had 200 fights. Everybody he fought, he beat. Out of 200 fights, he may have lost maybe 9. But see, that's Ali. You'll never forget Ali. You always got to talk about Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson. You do.
Right.
And the rest of them, Jack Johnson and the rest of them, you got to talk about all the greats, locally and all across the world. So always a pleasure, Brother Murray. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Okay, but we got now. Thank you very much for the call. Before we bring in Daryl, we got Daryl Bell from Philadelphia Tribune with us. I want to talk about Danny Garcia. He was on Max Kellerman's show yesterday, and I recorded that spot. And one of the things he said, because Errol Spence is coming off an accident. He's coming off a really devastating accident, and people are wondering, does he still have the ability to get into this fight, because obviously he's a favorite. But Danny Garcia is no slouch, and Danny Garcia said, and this is what if Jordan, you can play like the brief, like maybe 15, 16 second spot, if you can, I want you all to hear what Garcia had to say. So go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. So we want to go in there the first couple rounds. Obviously, we want to be smart. We don't want to go in there and go crazy. So we just want to go in there and be smart, working the jab, keeping my defense tight, and touching him and see where he's at.
Okay. So, yeah, and so from that standpoint, that's what he's going to have to do in this fight. I think that he can win this fight. What he's going to have to do is just to, when you're fighting a southpaw, keep moving to Spence's right and keep that left from being powerful. But Spence has shown that he can fight anybody in any situation. He fought Kell Brook, and that he proved. He beat Mikey Garcia, and so he can fight just about any style. Of course, looming in the shadows, looming in the shadows. I like that term. Is of course Terrence Crawford, and Terrence Crawford is a monster. He is a guy who's going to give all those guys a run for their money. We'll see, and we'll see how that shakes itself out. 215-634-8065. You want to talk more about this, more about the fights and everything. You want to talk about what's going on, and with the Eagles and all that. But on with us is one Daryl Bell. Daryl, what's going on, man?
Pico has many ways to help you lower your energy usage and save money at home. Here's one. If your heating and cooling system is more than 20 years old, it may be time for your contractor to replace it with a high-efficiency Energy Star certified model. You'll get a rebate from Pico and save on your monthly electric bill. You'll find a list of new heating and cooling system rebates at pico.com/rebates. Or you can call 1-888-5-PICO-SAVE for all the details. Plus, find instant discounts on smart thermostats and more at pico.com/marketplace. There's free shipping on orders over $49.
Hi, this is Jeff Brown from Brown's Family ShopRites and Fresh Grocers. Are you thinking about a part-time job to help out with the cost of the holidays? We have plenty of openings. You can apply online at shoprite.com/careers or freshgrocer.com/careers. Come join the Brown family today and help us serve the people of Philadelphia. Have a great holiday.
Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to Word Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Keep your dial locked to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the Word Radio app. Or watch live on Word TV via Facebook and YouTube. Word Radio. Independent Black Media. Livelihood. The new initiative from Word Radio, connecting Philadelphians to jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Okay, we are back. We have on the line with us Daryl Bell from the Philadelphia Tribune. Daryl, I got to ask you some questions about your Philadelphia Eagles. Is Carson Wentz done in your mind? I mean, are they going to bring him back next year? Or what do you think of this whole situation?
First of all, good afternoon. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, right now you're judging Carson Wentz. Yes, he's having the worst season of his career, but by the same token, he doesn't have much to work with. He has no offensive line, and he really has played most of the year without any proven receivers.
That's true.
It's been a bad combination. People have asked me, was it racist that Jalen Hurts is not back there? No, race doesn't have anything to do with it. Putting Jalen Hurts back there right now is more detrimental to his and the Eagles' progress than anything else. If there's not an offensive line that's going to protect Wentz, what makes you think they're going to protect Hurts? So you don't.
I agree. That's a good point.
Who's going to be back there? He's learning the game of trying to be a professional. This is not University of Kentucky that he'll be throwing against. This will be, say, the Green Bay Packers or the L.A. Rams, or So it's a whole different ball game.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But right now, this kid is learning. Hopefully, he will be something special. Jalen Hurts is a talent, but right now, there's no need to play him so that he can get hurt, and then you're really stuck. I think what is coming to fruition is something that I've always said. I never thought that Wentz was an elite quarterback to begin with. In 2017, he played the best football of his life. Then he got hurt, and he's trying to recapture that.
Right.
He's a good quarterback. He's an NFL quarterback. He's just not an elite quarterback, and there's a difference.
Right. Let me ask you this question with regards to Jalen Hurts. There's if you read a lot of the line, I try to read everybody, but there was talk that basically Jalen Hurts wasn't necessarily the first choice, and I'm just putting it mildly, of Doug Peterson. And I was talking to Lloyd Vance about that. How does it, does that have any effect on what Jalen has to do on a regular basis as a quarterback when you find out that, maybe your coach, that maybe the decision of bringing him wasn't necessarily the coach's decision, but was over his head? What are your thoughts on that?
Let's take it another step further. Almost everyone who's been employed, the employer has a decision between you or someone else. Who cares if the other, for whatever reason, they didn't take the other person? They decided to take you. Life goes on. You're going to sit around and worry about, this guy did not pick me or what? That's not even the point. The guy can play. He's going to get an opportunity. He's a rookie. Everybody take a chill pill. Sit back, relax. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, well, you're right about one thing. Another thing you're right about, but it's not all on Carson Wentz. The offensive line has been awful because you had a lot of injuries there. Guys are coming in and out. The receivers,
you had age. They never should have really bought JP back, but it was nice they brought him back. Okay, this is a swan song.
Yeah, this has to be a swan song.
Don't need to see JP anymore. The problem with the Eagles is a twofold thing. Number one, they don't know how to evaluate talent. That's number one. That's the main thing. There's a reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers are unbeaten. You know why? They are great at evaluating talent. There's a reason why the Kansas City Chiefs have only one loss, because they're great at evaluating talent. Howie has never been good at that. He's good at being sentimental, and that's nice. Well, football's a man's game.
He did have one good year too. I mean, he did bring in enough people. I mean, like I said, we say the sun shines on the dog's ass at least once. And in that year, I thought he did a good job of putting that Super Bowl squad together. But you're right. The fact that they passed over DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson in 2 consecutive years, in two successive drafts, really should really bother fans. But go on.
Well, you're going to always have someone who's looked over it. I mean, that happens. That's part of.
No, but not on a consistent basis, though.
Hey, the Sixers could have had Kobe Bryant, okay, and they didn't take him. I mean, things happen. It's like that.
Yeah, but you just said that there's a pattern to that he's not doing a good job of evaluating talent, and I'm supporting you on that point.
Yeah, well, he's not. I mean, the proof is what you're going to watch tomorrow. The proof is what you've been watching all year.
Right.
If you're a good talent evaluator, even in a down year, you're going to be competitive. This team hasn't been competitive. This team has been basically a laughing stock. The only reason why they're not getting being a total laughing stock is because the NFC East is so bad. But I'll tell you the team to watch out for, and I said this again, look at what they're doing in Washington. Hey, they might not have a team name, but they have a heck of a defense. They are good at evaluating talent. Okay? The Giants, they're good at evaluating talent. Even Dallas, with the crazy owner, is good at evaluating talent. Eagles are probably the worst at it.
Well, I would say Dallas is not, at least on the defensive end. Offensive end, the Cowboys have done okay at evaluating talent. But I would agree with you on that because, everybody now, you said everybody misses so often. I mean, I looked at this year's draft, and I really studied the wide receiver core because they kept saying, the Eagles kept saying they needed somebody who can make a difference. Jalen Reagor has been, okay, but I'm watching Jefferson.
He's been a rookie. He hasn't.
But wait a minute. But hold up, though. Hold up. Let me say this. Justin Jefferson, the kid who went to LSU, and they kept, this guy was just off the charts, and I kept saying, I mean, even a guy like myself, like myself, I know wide receivers, okay, and so we're at the by the way, we got to end this discussion, but I'll end it here because it's time to wrap up the show. But I'll end it right here. Should not have whiffed on Justin Jefferson or DK Metcalf, and I'll end the show right there. Daryl, first of all, thank you for being here, and as always, we'll see you next week. You're listening, ladies and gentlemen. The Chris Murray Report will be back next week, 11 to 1 on Saturdays. Enjoy talking to you all today. I'm having so much fun losing track of time. So we'll see you next week at this time on the Chris Murray Report.